I'm outside. I'm outside.
Do you know? As far as putting words in order is concerned, AI already thinks better than many of us. Therefore, anything made of words.
But they should follow the law, but let's not get our knickers in a twist here. There's no
let's not
punishment
get our
for this.
knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane. Like, it's insane. The Epstein file.
They're just going after the worst of the worst. I don't know why you're mad about that. They kidnapped a 5-year-old kid wearing a blue bunny hat and a goddamn Spider-Man backpack out of the fucking school pickup line.
Welcome to the sacrificed.
Okay, right now, over 500,000 Americans across the U.S. are without power as the massive winter storm barrels across the country, leading to blackouts, where Tennessee and Texas, where more than 120,000 customers are without power in each of those states.
So what can people at home do to get by, especially when temperatures plummet? President and CEO of the American Public Power Association, Scott Corwin, joins us now. Scott, thank you for getting up early and joining us. What do you say to those? We're seeing these outages rise, particularly Texas, Tennessee, and it seems like it's rapidly increasing.
Yes, well, thank you for having me on this morning. APPA represents about 2,000 of these communities across the United States that are electric utilities owned by the local areas, and many in the path of this storm. And there's many things, especially on one like this, where it's a long way to go. As you can see, a lot of impacts as ice comes on as well. Some of the things are always tips. Stay away from those lines if they're down, but stay off the roads as well. Follow those local instructions, because utility workers it's safety first always for the public and for those workers, and they're needing to get those trucks in and work through the night and all day long today to try to keep that power going.
So with the power outages that we're seeing so far, most of that is the result of ice on the power lines. Do you feel confident about the power grid maintaining?
Yeah, the line, a lot of that is the local distribution lines. You have trees that get overlaid by the ice. Ice is particularly tough, as you know, storms on systems like that. The grid overall, the wholesale generation and transmission, we've been in a lot of meetings and coordination early on coming into this. So the grid operators try to get ahead of that, have their backup set, have the system set up to withstand these impacts this time. On the local grids as well.
Do you know? As far as putting words in order is concerned, AI already thinks better than many of us. Therefore, anything made of words will be taken over by AI. If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, then AI will take over books. If religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion. This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that. What happens to a religion of the book when the greatest expert on the holy book is an AI?
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history? Would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing. To be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule. Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted
for 50 years to peace and safetyism. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
Then I heard Larry was taking it over, more or less, and he called me. He said, "Would you do me a favor? Would you be there?" And we've had some great business dealings together. And he's great. He's one of you. He's one of the greats. And it was an honor. We had a good speech. We got great reviews. I can't believe it. We got good reviews in that speech. Usually they say he's a horrible dictator type person. I'm a dictator. But sometimes you need a dictator. But they didn't say that in this case. And no, it's common sense. It's all based on common sense,
No. Listen, I'm going to talk. No, you're going to listen. I'm going to hang out the phone.
A deadly attack, a disturbing call, and a calculated diversion. Tonight, the new evidence showing how a gunman tried to mislead police before targeting a local church. Now, Thomas Jacob Sanford can be heard claiming there were attacks at 3 other churches, but police say those were false alarms.
This call is just chilling. Then, just minutes later, Sanford crashed his truck right into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 4 people died, several others injured. Lauren Kostick joins us live from the newsroom. Lauren, the audio is really just frightening to listen to.
Yeah, it really is chilling, and police believe that 911 call came from the gunman himself minutes before he carried out the deadly attack. At one point, even interrupting the dispatcher to say, "I'm going to talk and you're going to listen."
Hold on. No. Listen to me. Listen, I'm going to talk. No, you're going to listen. I'm going to hang out the phone.
New audio obtained by Local 4 reveals Thomas Sanford made his own 911 call just minutes before driving a truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township last September.
Genesee County 911.
Hey, I want to report it was a bomb in the Mormon Temple in Birmingham. And there's also a bomb in the River Church at Atlas.
The call lasted less than 2 minutes. During it, Sanford rambles off bomb threats at 3 places of worship, including a Catholic church in Grand Blanc, a church in Goodrich, and a Mormon temple in Birmingham. But never once did he mention the church he eventually attacked.
The Mormon Temple in Birmingham. Birmingham Mormon Temple is very important, okay? That's very important, that one there, okay?
Birmingham,
the Mormon Temple.
Where's Birmingham?
Birmingham, Michigan.
When the dispatcher asked for his name, Sanford hung up.
The river on Perry Road.
The River Church on Perry Road?
I'm going to hang up the phone now. Okay.
What is your name?
In the police incident report, an officer notes the caller was a male who made bomb threats towards several local area churches and specifically described Mormon churches as being important, adding the possible sound of the exhaust of a vehicle can be heard while the male is speaking, as if the male was traveling in a vehicle while making the 911 bomb threat call. Police were able to link the call to Sanford by matching it to previous calls he made. The police chief says they believe the call was a ploy to divert law enforcement resources away from Sanford's real target.
And the FBI has confirmed the attack was a targeted act of violence against the Mormon faith. In total, 4 people died and several others were hurt.
I'm outside. I'm outside. It doesn't say out here. And I've just been ordered to leave the premises. And she's yelling at me right now, so I'm gonna head back to my car and try and keep you abreast of the situation.
A new investigative report by 404 Media says ICE agents have a new high-tech way to zero in on neighborhoods to raid. The report says it's an app called Elite, and it's developed by Palantir, which is a data analytics company used by federal agencies and state and local governments. Now, the app populates a map with potential targets, pulls up a profile on each individual person, and provides a, quote, confidence score on each person's address. Joining us now is the 404 Media investigative journalist who wrote that story, Joseph Koch. Joseph, thanks for being with us. How did you first come across this information, and what did you find as you started to follow the story?
So I've been covering ICE's use of technology for months now, and I kept hearing about this thing called Elite. I didn't know what it was at the time, and we didn't really know what tech ICE was using to actually find people. But eventually I got leaked this user guide, which explained the tool in detail. I found this testimony from Oregon where an ICE official, under sworn deposition, explained exactly how they were using this tool to actually target neighborhoods. And I also found this link to Palantir as well. I think finally providing the clearest link yet between the tech that Palantir is making and how ICE is actually choosing where to raid and where to target.
So what kind of data are they looking at here on this app? And is it being used in agents all over, not just Minnesota?
So with this testimony in Oregon, an ICE official said it's basically like a Google's map interface where you can look around the United States, you can zoom in on targets, and I've seen the interface and he's exactly right. That's exactly what it looks like. You then click on an individual person and it brings up their name, a photo, most importantly for ICE, their apparent address, and also a confidence score on how likely it is that person is actually there, such as 90 out of 100 or 75 out of 100. It allows them to really zoom in on who they want to go pick up that day.
So you write about the app user guide. What did the user guide reveal to you?
It really showed in granular detail what exactly ICE is able to do, such as if they want to target this neighborhood, they'll maybe draw a circle around it, and that will bring up information on all of the people there. If they want to figure out where a certain population might be, they can use it for that. And of course, I think really importantly for what is happening in Minnesota at the moment, the tool can be used to sort of write up special operations, is what ICE calls it, and that can send target lists out to people on the ground, and then they can then pursue them as well as part of these much wider operations that we're seeing across the United States.
Joseph Cox, thank you so much.
Why is everyone talking about 2016? Celebrities and probably some of your friends sending us back to 2016 by reposting old photos on Insta.
Collectively, it's 2016 again. I'm down for it.
2016 was the greatest year in human history.
So many things happened in 2016.
2016 is trending right now. Why do you think that is?
People tend to be nostalgic when they're anxious about the future. And so I think this generation is dealing with those anxieties, and they're using nostalgia as a way to respond to them.
We just all really want to go back to simpler times, and looking back on life and nostalgia, it kind of just puts us in a safer place.
Ever since New Year's Day 2026, the hashtag 2016
has surged 450%.
And it's back. But I love 2016. I love the throwback. A simpler time, maybe.
It was a simpler time, I guess, but it was also a time of a lot of excitement.
It's kind of cool to just go back to see what we were wearing, make fun of ourselves, and just realize that we should just start having fun again.
I think we need to stop chasing nostalgia and live in the present. 2026 would never be the same as 2016. Like, we're in a whole different climate. Just like live in the now.
But what if you have the need to throw it back? And what's behind the sudden social media frenzy? Pop culture experts blame artificial intelligence.
You're looking at video and you're thinking, is this real? Is this picture real? In 2016, that wasn't even our thoughts. We posted photos. We didn't care if they were filtered. We were having fun. We were living our lives.
While psychologists point to a craving for human connection, something some of us in this new tech age seem to be longing for.
It's also necessary for us to look back at the things that we overcame, the stressors, because it gives us an opportunity to see our internal resources, right? Like, that was a crappy time. We probably never thought that we would overcome it, but look at us now. Look at us in 2026.
Oh my gosh. So searches are what? Up this year by more than 400%? I mean, why does everyone suddenly care about a decade ago?
400% this week alone. So I think part of it, right, is that nostalgia has never been more popular than it is right now. We've got the Scrubs revival set to air next month. We've got the Devil Wears Prada sequel showing up in May on the big screen. So nostalgia is so popular right now. And the other part of this is that folks really want to return to a time that was really playful. I mean, Pokemon Go to the Polls, what a time to be alive. We were also doing things like the Mannequin Challenge back in 2016. So social media was certainly a felt presence, but it wasn't so curated the way it is now, right? People were using the Rio de Janeiro filter, which they're doing again now as part of this 2016 trend. So 1.7 million posts on TikTok alone with this 2016 challenge, Kira.
Hey guys, it's Ro. With more than 20 million followers on social media, Rosanna Pansino has been making waves baking online for 15 years. She says today's more complex algorithms are making online content more robotic, and that the hashtag 2016 is about reclaiming online connection.
It was definitely more genuine. It was more real, and I think people connected to it more.
Who doesn't remember those cartoonish Snapchat filters immortalizing this duet by Jimmy Fallon and Ariana Grande? Speaking of music, in 2016, Taylor Swift was in her Bleachella era after sporting a platinum do at Coachella. Turns out we were feeling nostalgic in 2016 too. The hottest show on TV, The People vs. O.J. Simpson. There were challenges in 2016, like the water bottle flip challenge and the mannequin challenge, where a group would gather and freeze.
Hello. Just want to say a few things about current events and current happenings, because I see people getting caught in a pincer movement, which is pitching left against right. It's gathered massive pace since the shooting of Charlie Kirk, and I'm looking on aghast at how people are falling for it. In some cases, people who should know better. Because, you know, once upon a time, in the wake of COVID and before, the alternative media kind of understood that we live in one-party states. And as they used to say in America when I was traveling there a lot in the 1990s, it doesn't matter who you vote for because the government still gets in. And that seems to have been forgotten in this frenzy of pitching right against left. And I just want to offer the benefit of 35, 36 years of investigating and researching this, that there is another level which if we don't understand, we will never get the picture. And that other level is what I call the global cult.
A dangerous subversive elite has managed to infiltrate the highest levels of Western institutions and governments to implement the criminal plan of the Agenda 2030. In many self-proclaimed democratic states, the voices denouncing this global coup are being silenced through censorship, intimidation, psychiatrization, and even arrest. Among the victims of the totalitarian regime quietly establishing itself in Europe, Canada, Australia, and other vassal nations of the United Nations, NATO, World Health Organization, and World Economic Forum, all private entities funded by the same powers, is lawyer Rainer Fulmich, unjustly imprisoned and still awaiting for a fair trial. His crime is having dared to speak the truth in a world of criminal lies. I call on Catholics and all people of goodwill to raise their voices in defense of those persecuted by the globalist regime. It is not Attorney Fulmich who should be imprisoned, but those who committed the greatest crime ever against humanity: Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, Ursula von der Leyen, Albert Bourla, and all their accomplices and emissaries, especially those in institutional positions. Free Rainer Fulmich.
The current pandemic has brought unimaginable devastation to people's lives, livelihoods, and national economies. At the same time, the green recovery represents an unprecedented opportunity.
All right, now to new questions about a woman who was found dead in the cold. Macomb County Sheriff investigators suggested she died from exposure.
But tonight, the family of Monique Cook is opening up to us about the final hours leading up to her death.
7 News Detroit reporter Randy Wembley sitting down with them tonight as they share their heartache and questions they hope someone will soon be able to answer.
The Macomb County Medical Examiner's Office is still working to determine how exactly Monique Cook died.
No shoes, no coat, laying on her back. She would never lay down and die in the freezing cold. That is not my mother. That's not of her character.
Antonia Cook says the circumstances surrounding her mother's death do not add up. According to the family, the 53-year-old left her sister's East Point home in the middle of the night Monday to go be with a friend in Mount Clemens. A Priority Waste driver discovered Cook's body behind this building early Tuesday morning.
I believe that they were maybe having a drink or something together. That's what they did. And something happened in between that time.
Antonia says her mother's face was swollen and her lip was split.
She didn't leave her sister's house like that.
She and 2 of her sisters went to the scene after their mother was found and say some of her belongings were still there.
There's a pair of pants that have blood on them, and the knees have drag marks on them.
They need to come get this evidence that my niece and them went up there and got, that they left on the scene.
My niece had to jump in the dumpster and got my sister's stuff.
And as for Cook's friend,
he hasn't showed his face, reached out to anybody, nothing.
The Macomb County Medical Examiner's Office says Cook's autopsy results are still pending and the toxicology analysis is underway. Cook's death raised urgent concerns about the plight of the unhoused as temperatures dropped to the coldest of the season. But her family says she was not homeless, but rather a woman who fell on hard times and would stay with different family members as they helped her get back on her feet.
They put her off as just a homeless woman died behind a dumpster, and that is not Monique's story.
Now, as the family waits for answers, they hold on to memories.
My mother is love. Love.
Sweet. So sweet. We'll give anybody anything.
The Macomb County Sheriff's Office says this remains an active investigation, and Cook's family says until they get answers, they're left waiting for the closure they desperately need.
Yeah, unroll your windows. No, you're just right inside. Let's go around.
In the last few hours, newly analyzed video has raised serious questions about a fatal federal shooting in Minneapolis. Footage reviewed by CNN appears to show something critical happening seconds before gunfire erupts. According to a CNN video analysis, a federal immigration officer may have removed a gun from 37-year-old Alex Preddy just moments before officers fatally shot him.
Well, now to this. A 37-year-old man is dead after he was shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. Now Minnesota authorities are suing the Trump administration to keep federal officials from tampering with or destroying evidence. As Christian Benavidez reports, it happened just weeks after another protester, Renee Good, was shot and killed by ICE.
Cell phone videos captured the moments leading up to the shooting death of 37-year-old U.S. citizen Alex Preddy after an encounter between protesters and federal officers. A Border Patrol agent pushes a woman who is a protester. Preddy gets in between the woman and the agent, who then appears to deploy pepper spray. As Preddy is being taken to the ground by a group of federal officers, one of them discovers he is armed with a handgun. Another officer opens fire.
The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots.
The Department of Homeland Security released this photo of a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Minnesota officials say Preddy, an ICU nurse, had a valid permit to carry and was legally allowed to have the handgun in Minnesota, which is an open carry state.
I just saw a video of more than 6 masked agents pummeling one of our constituents and shooting him to death. How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end?
Protests have escalated following the incident, which comes just 2 weeks after the death of Renee Good, also at the hands of a federal officer who said he fired in self-defense.
We don't disagree that there is an issue with criminal immigrants. We all agree that there is an issue with how it's being addressed right now, with complete lack of regard for human life and dignity.
In response to the shooting, more than 1,000 protesters took to the streets in Minneapolis in sub-zero temperatures, with other protests being held in solidarity nationwide.
30th, 1947, December 10th, 2024. Today we remember that freedom is not free. We have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it. May we never forget and always remember our brothers and sisters who have served so that we may enjoy the gift of freedom. So in this moment, we remember and give thanks for their dedication and selfless service to our nation in the cause of our freedom. In this solemn hour, we render them our honor and our gratitude.
Once again, the Department of Homeland Security has murdered an American. Once again, the Department of Homeland Security declared that dead American was a domestic terrorist. Once again, the Department of Homeland Security lied about every single thing that happened during that incident. Once again, multiple videos had to come out from American citizens proving that the Department of Homeland Security is no longer trying to secure the homeland, they're trying to fucking occupy it. Once again, we watched an American citizen bleed out on the street because he wanted to use his First Amendment, and they claimed he tried to use his Second. But now we have none of them. We have no amendments. We have no Constitution. We have no Bill of Rights. We have no Declaration of Independence. Instead, we have a dictator and a tyrant and a fucking old man who thinks he's a god surrounded by a bunch of impotent fat weirdos who can't wait to kill us all.
It's a global network of secret societies, fiercely compartmentalized, So even most of the people in the secret societies don't know the real big picture. Only the inner core does. It's all compartmentalized right down the system. And this cult has an agenda to create a global dystopia which involves the fusing of the human mind, brain, body with artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence becomes the human mind. And therefore, it becomes possible to create a hive mind in which people's thoughts and emotional responses are fed to them. And all these AI oligarchs, Musk and Andreessen and Thiel and Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, they're pushing the world towards this. And as I said before the Trump regime came in, he's being brought in to target that area, that mentality, which became known as the MAGA, that was pushing back on this artificial intelligence dystopia and was pushing back on the destruction of freedom of speech and all these other impositions, digital ID, etc. And this level, this cult level, works through both the left and the right and the bloody center, come to that, to push this agenda forward. And how it works is when the left are in power, they target freedom of speech. We've seen this with the whole woke mentality. If you don't use the right pronouns, you get fired. And so many excuses were used to, and are still being used in areas where the left is in power, to destroy freedom of speech and freedom of expression.
This is the latest wave of Russian strikes on Kyiv, with explosions and air defenses reported across the capital early Saturday. Ukraine said Russia launched more than 370 attack drones and 21 missiles, the most intense strike since the start of the year. Kyiv officials reported damage in several districts, including a medical facility. The city's mayor said one person was killed and 4 others injured. The strikes are part of Russia's renewed campaign against Ukraine's energy sector as freezing temperatures grip the country, with Kyiv dropping to minus 13 degrees Celsius. Ukraine's energy provider has warned the country is nearing a humanitarian catastrophe. Russia's defense ministry said the strikes targeted a facility producing long-range drones and energy sites linked to Ukraine's military industry. The attacks come as negotiators from Ukraine, Russia and the United States meet in Abu Dhabi for talks aimed at ending the conflict.
Welcome back in. This is an exclusive story you will only see here on WJZ. The search for answers underway now after a Maryland man visiting Mexico for a wedding mysteriously found dead at a popular resort in Cancun. His mother now working to get his body back home and pleading for answers about his death. Our Janae Reese sat down one-on-one with the victim's family, who thinks he was killed there.
I'm in mommy mode. Try and get things done. I'm on the phone all day.
All Yolanda Williams has left of her son are videos.
Look how good it feels with me outside in it.
Pictures and memories.
Took me out on a little lunch date afterward.
Williams says her son loved fashion, to travel, and was looking to become a dental hygienist after graduating from Baltimore City Community College in 2023.
This is him and my mom.
But on Friday, she received a call that her son was found dead.
I got a call around 1 o'clock that Chaz had died, that he had fell off a balcony in Mexico.
His last known location, the all-inclusive Rio Caribe Hotel in Cancun, Mexico.
The young lady Tierra, which is my uncle's daughter, had confirmed that it was him.
The only way she got information was by FaceTiming a family friend who was also on the trip.
So I needed her to call me. So she FaceTimed me, and I wanted to see Chaz his body, but they wouldn't let me see. So she had to confirm that it was him.
So who was the last person to see him?
The
before
bride.
The bride of
Yeah,
the wedding.
they were together, and he walked her to her room. So that was and then he left and went to his room. So
And I asked her, I said, are you, he wasn't out of it. He seemed out of it. She said no. He seemed fine.
Almost a week later, Williams says no local law enforcement agency in Mexico has reached out to her directly about the circumstances surrounding her son's death.
They didn't tell us anything.
They said he had no defensive wounds on him.
Williams says her family has not received any official police report from the night in question, only video of the stairwell and balcony hours after the incident.
The impact on his body was from a fall. He told me, he said it wasn't from him falling down the steps, it was from him falling from a height. And they first told me that his leg was broke and that he had damage to his face because they said he fell on his face. So like, what is it? So that's why I was like, I need to get the police report because it's conflicting stories.
The cameras didn't point into the stairwell. They pointed out.
They pointed outside. And she said when she went back, everything was gone and everything was cleaned up.
Shantia Smith, Chez's sister-in-law, says as of Thursday morning, the family is working with the Mexican embassy on a potential investigation. But a lot of questions remain, including how they're going to get his body home.
Y'all dangling him in front of us. Like, hey, look, you can have him when you want, but long as you
gotta
pay
the money. His property, haven't sent it. When you pay the money, we'll send the property. It's the same thing.
WJZ did reach out to the U.S. consulate, and we did receive an automated voicemail and email. Rio Resorts has yet to respond to our inquiries.
He's my youngest, and my youngest son, and I just needed confirmation, and I don't want him there. I really want him to come home.
Slop all over the internet these days. Angela Carter here live is getting less sloppy. Disaster. Just kidding. I'm not real. With hyper-realistic AI-generated sham news clips circulating, often presented as a joke. Dana Brooks reporting live from Ocean View. But what's becoming not so funny, how easily reality can be confused with the fakes.
The White House unveils plan to train bald eagles as patriotic aerial surveillance units.
Can you tell the difference?
Well, President Trump meets today with another global leader as his administration promises more trade deals.
The one on the left is AI generated, while the right is real. The launch of Google's VO3 earlier this year, shocking users and the industry with how realistic the model is, plus how it can be paired with audio generation.
Reporting live from Clearwater Beach, where an unidentified...
And as the lines blur, the AI clips of fake reports or newsworthy events that never happened, even reaching the Oval Office. With President Trump posting this provocative AI-generated video of former President Obama being arrested at the White House. In many ways, it's an obvious example of misinformation or parody, easily debunked. But what happens when it's not so obvious?
We used to say that seeing is believing, and that's no longer the case.
It's making life hard for Emmanuel Saliba, a content verification expert and a former NBC News reporter. She says the tech is getting so advanced, the fake videos are routinely being spread across the world and reported as fact.
During that gap between an event happening and authorities or media having any sort of confirmation, that's where we're seeing all of this AI-generated content start to spread. And before it's debunked, before it's verified, it's gaining millions of views.
The phenomenon, also known as synthetic media. We wanted to see how easy it was to create, so we gave Google's VO3 a try.
Well, the prompt says, generate a realistic TV news reporter stand-up. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is standing in a snowbank with snowy trees behind her.
We fed the program a short prompt meant to recreate a real report I did back in 2023.
All right, so now we will generate.
On our first try, with about a minute of processing.
Oh. Should we give it a listen?
This is an area used to winter weather, but as you can see in the drooping tree branches, this colossal storm dropped heavy snow.
The landscape is so good and the quality is so good, like down to the detail of the hat, you can kind of see flurries.
It doesn't really look or sound like me, and the text at the bottom of the screen is gibberish, a telltale sign of AI. But watch how the AI reporter gestures, the hat, coat, even the NBC patch on the shoulder, and side by side with the real thing.
This is an area that is used to winter weather, but as you can see in the drooping tree branches, this colossal storm dropped heavy snow.
The slow zoom out, it's incredibly similar to the actual camera movement.
We tried altering the prompt to make it look more like me, but those attempts were blocked, with Google alerting it, quote, might violate our policies about generating prominent people. Google's video generator is so good, at least in part, because it's training its models on some videos posted to YouTube, the company recently told CNBC. It's that sheer realism of such an easy, free creation that highlights the bigger concern, when this tech is used not for fun, but to push an agenda or sow confusion.
Former Olympic snowboarder turned alleged drug kingpin has now been arrested. Law enforcement officials say he had been on the run from authorities in the U.S. and Mexico. Today, Ryan Wedding brought back to the U.S. on a government plane in Ontario, California. One of the FBI's 10 most wanted now in custody and on U.S. soil, touching down at an airport outside of Los Angeles hours after his arrest in Mexico. For more than a year, an intense manhunt has been underway for Ryan Wedding, a former Canadian snowboarder who competed in the 2002 Winter Olympics turned alleged drug kingpin.
He went from an Olympic snowboarder to the largest narco trafficker in modern times. He is a modern-day El Chapo. He is a modern-day Pablo Escobar. And he thought he could evade justice.
Authorities say Wedding was known to have been hiding out in Mexico under a number of different aliases. The FBI says he was being protected by the Sinaloa cartel. Federal prosecutors believe he's been responsible for moving more than $1 billion a year worth of cocaine into the U.S., utilizing a network of trucks crossing the border. Mexican authorities telling ABC News Wedding surrendered at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. Sources say it came after weeks of negotiating his surrender.
Did he turn himself in, or was there an operation that took him down?
Without getting into operational sensitivities, Ryan Wedding was apprehended last night in Mexico City. And to safeguard the integrity of the ongoing investigation, we will not go into that.
The case had been closing in on Wedding for months. In November, a superseding indictment alleged Wedding had a witness murdered who was set to testify against him. Wedding is charged with multiple counts, including running a criminal enterprise and murder, charges that could put him in prison for the rest of his life if convicted. We are told Wedding will remain in custody in the Los Angeles area. He is expected to make his initial court appearance in federal court on Monday.
Developing news, the search for a popular social media influencer from Phoenix who split her time between the Valley and Sinaloa.
Mexican authorities say she was abducted 2 days ago, and there's some video circulating online that appears to show her being kidnapped by masked men and forced into a car. Karina Rubio is here in the studio tonight following the latest on the search for this young woman.
There's a lot of questions still here, but we do know there's a missing person bulletin for Nicole Pardo Molina. It's called the Protocolo Alba, and Mexican authorities issue those for missing women and girls. That alert system was created when an alarming number of women were murdered in or disappeared from Ciudad Juarez. Then Mexico expanded it nationally, and now the search is on for Pardo Molina.
Nicole Pardo Molina, better known as La Nicolette, is a Mexican-American influencer with a big following on social media platforms, posting content about her lifestyle and businesses.
I think everything on social media influenced this to happen. You expose yourself to a lot of things.
According to this alert from the Sinaloa State Attorney General's office, she was last seen in a residential neighborhood in Culiacan, Sinaloa. It says her safety is considered at risk and she may be the victim of a crime. Videos circulating on social media show men appearing to abduct the 20-year-old from her purple cyber truck in Culiacan and forcing her into a white car. Pardo Molina is originally from Phoenix, is said to have a residence here, and used to operate a boutique in this plaza at the corner of Indian School and 59th Avenue.
I passed by once and saw the business windows broken. After the windows were broken, she closed her business.
We talked to a woman who works in the plaza and was hesitant to go on camera. In 2023, a Mexican band released a song about La Nicolette called La Muchacha del Salado, or The Lady from El Salado. It's a corrido where historical events, social analysis, and drug cartels are common themes.
The corrido literally says that she's connected to them, but I don't know.
Part of the song says Pardo Molina is working and risking it in Phoenix.
It's something really bad because I have daughters, and I think about my daughters. She was very young for this to have happened to her, but I don't know if she was involved in criminal activity.
But I'm afraid we are literally at the last hour, and there is real urgency for action. We know now what we have to do to rescue the situation, rather than going on talking about it.
Joining me now is Ned Ryan, American CEO. Ned, great to see you tonight. It seems that the goal of this crowd is to kind of create the same panic about climate change that they successfully created around COVID. Do I have this wrong?
No, you have it correct. I mean, first of all, we have to accept the World Economic Forum is a fanatical political organization that uses fear and manipulation like COVID hysteria, like the hoax of global warming, to really facilitate people thinking that somehow they're the saviors, but really all you're doing is helping them accomplish their goal, which really is a global public-private fascist movement and fusion of big government, big tech, big money to create a technocratic ruling elite, which conveniently is them. And really, Laura, if you want to look at a different way, too, with the World Economic Forum, they want to create feudalism 2.0, in which we are serfs and they are the lords ruling over us. You'll have nothing and be happy, is one of the things that comes out of Davos. That's what they're aiming for. They're aiming for feudalism in which we are serfs and we should be happy that they are ruling over us.
That order seems to not be the order anymore. We are on the way to a new order, so we are between orders. Do you agree with that, or are there ways of what are we able to keep on the positive side from the old order to bring into a new world order, and how can we avoid that new world order becomes like a jungle growing back, and we rather have order based on international law and the principles that have brought us prosperity and freedom for decades?
I guess, and maybe this is the old kind of teacher in me coming out. I think of this a little bit more about a transition of eras rather than a transition of orders, but the two are kind of cousins of one another. The reason I draw the distinction is because I don't think the international order built after 1945 is getting replaced wholesale with some new order.
Good evening. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. The men and women of law enforcement who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th are heroes.
Okay, so here's the absolute craziest thing happening right now, and it shows exactly how Trump is both completely cornered legally and also somehow skating free at the same time. Jack Smith, the special counsel who was investigating Trump, he just came out and said under oath in his official report that he had proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump committed crimes. Not maybe, not probably, beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the legal standard for conviction in a criminal trial. And Smith said his team was confident they would have won a trial. They had the evidence, they had the testimony, they had everything they needed to convict Trump. And Smith was ready to take the case to a jury. He was ready to present that evidence in court. He was ready to ask a jury to convict Trump of federal crimes. But the cases got dropped anyway. They just disappeared. The election interference case got dismissed. The classified documents appeal got abandoned. And Trump walked out of court claiming total victory, claiming he was vindicated, claiming the whole thing was a witch hunt that collapsed. But that's not what actually happened. And that's what makes this so wild. The cases collapsed not because the evidence was weak. The cases collapsed because Trump won the election and became president again. The cases collapsed because of procedural technicalities and immunity policies. The cases collapsed despite Smith saying on the record that he had proof of crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. So we're in this bizarre situation where Trump is protected from prosecution right now. Trump cannot be indicted while he's president. Trump is walking around claiming vindication. Trump is telling his supporters that the whole investigation was a hoax.
Today marks 1 month since the Justice Department was required by law to release all of the Epstein files. So far, it's released less than 1%. Lauren Boebert said something interesting there. She said the truth shall set you free. The law, Scott says, that the Justice Department shall release all the Epstein files, not can if it wants to or gets around to it.
Yeah, what's the punishment if they don't?
That's a great point. I mean, that's a problem.
There is none. So here's the deal. I think they should release it. I think they should follow the law. I also have no idea how long it takes to prepare this many documents for this kind of release. Counselor may have some thoughts on that, but they should follow the law. But let's not get our knickers in a twist here. There's no
let's not
punishment
get our
for this.
knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane. Like, it's insane. The Epstein files
What's
is
insane?
a multinational, multi-generational child and woman sex trafficking ring. So your attitude right now, you're sort of like, well, shucks, devil begun, is just horrifying to me. Every woman in the world that is watching this, why are you acting like you have no idea what's happening here? Scott, this is...
He asked me a question about following
yes,
the law.
and what
I
I'm
said they
saying
should
to you
follow
is
the
your
law.
attitude. Yeah, and they're not following the law. They're 30 days late on following law, and they didn't explain why they redacted the first things in the first place, which they were also supposed to do.
I know.
Listen,
You
at
have a
this
strong
point, this is
opinion
not...
about it, and I
have a strong
respect that.
opinion about it because it is a
But I think they should-
disgusting
I think they should do it
policy
as
that they are
fast as
doing
they
this.
can.
They are hiding it. It is not the behavior of innocent people, and everything that is in these files is... It could bring an entire house down. And if it has to, it has to. If it brings down Democrats, bring them down. If it brings down Republicans, bring them down. If it brings down princes, world leaders, Hollywood people, bring them down. But what it feels like right now is that there's a giant cabal of people that do not have to listen to the law, do not have to oppose the law, and they were supposed to do something, then they didn't do something, and now they're trying to have a new law that says we don't even have to do it.
And what's really wrong?
New details tonight on a murder investigation at a homeless encampment. We're now learning the victim is a former NFL player. LA County investigators say former Philadelphia Eagles and Oakland Raiders defensive lineman Kevin Johnson was found dead yesterday morning at an encampment in Willowbrook in South LA. He suffered blunt force trauma to his head and stab wounds. Friends say he had health problems later in life that led him to live on the streets, but they called Johnson a wonderful friend who still made an impact on his community.
He was my best friend. I was best man at his wedding. He played in the National Football League for about 7 years. Great guy, fun-loving. The community's going to miss him.
His friends tell Eyewitness News Johnson had health problems that they believe might have been the result of CTE. He was just 55 years old. Investigators asking for help from any witnesses who might have seen what happened to him.
We fear that there's going to become a collapse. I read the articles now that with Trump's tariffs, there's going to be the end of global cooperation, which could hinder the development ultimately of globalism. And then, of course, we fear that there will be digital totalitarianism and the surveillance state. And then, if that isn't bad enough, I just watched an interview of Elon Musk, and his big concern now is depopulation of the planet. Instead of overpopulation, which the UN is still trying to control, we find that the population of the earth is actually beginning to contract and get smaller because we're killing off many of our unborn, and we're also sterilizing people so they can't reproduce. And part of the drive for the gay relationships, the LGBT community, is they don't reproduce. That's one of the things we know about people who marry people of the same sex. Their capacity to reproduce is greatly reduced. That's because I took introductory biology. And if the depopulation thing isn't the scariest thing, because we know historically that countries or nations or states which shrink in population actually shrink in power and influence. The most wealthy, successful countries in the world are places like Singapore, where they have people hanging out all over the place. They're most densely populated, and yet they're the most economically efficient and successful because they actually deal with that issue in a positive way. And I mean, you pile all that, and then you throw on top of all of this stuff, you've got Donald Trump, an existential threat.
No matter left, no matter right, because they are both polarities of that. They are both horns of that. And that level is what we must not only understand, but we must focus upon and ask why. Now, one of the great servants, one of the great agencies, vehicles for that is the government and intelligence military networks operating out of Israel. Not Jewish people in general, that level that runs Israel. This is why it operates in the United States. More and more people, including Charlie Kirk, were starting to see that, the massive influence it has. It has massive influence in Britain through people like Starmer, massive influence in other countries around the world in a covert way. And it's doing the bidding of that level. And so when you look at things like the Charlie Kirk shooting, appalling, by the way, there's very little that he said that I agreed with, but you certainly don't respond to it like that. But there are those immediately, and what you can see when you when one of these horrible events happens, be 9/11, be whatever, you have a story that is given to you immediately. That's why on 9/11, within minutes of it happening, the name of Osama bin Laden was introduced, because that was where they wanted to push you. And if you notice, whether it's the assassination of President Kennedy, of Bobby Kennedy, of Martin Luther King, whether it's 9/11, whether it's the invasion of Iraq on weapons of mass destruction as an excuse, what you find is that the initial story you're given is never the true story that comes out later. And so when I'm looking at this Charlie Kirk situation, from that level, I'm looking immediately, what is the story they want us to believe?
They're just going after the worst of the worst. I don't know why you're mad about that. They kidnapped a 5-year-old kid wearing a blue bunny hat and a goddamn Spider-Man backpack out of the fucking school pickup line. They then drove him home and made him walk up to the front door asking to be let in so they could see if anybody else was home to snatch. His older brother came home 20 minutes later and his dad and his little brother were gone, despite the fact that the whole family came through a legal port of entry, have an active asylum case, and don't have a deportation order. And now the two of them are either on their way or already at a detention center in Texas. You know what happens at places like that? Women are raped and men are choked to death. Both of those things are fucking documented. You know what it's called when you kidnap a child and take him across state lines? Human fucking trafficking. To be perfectly clear, if you can hear that story and look at the picture of Liam Ramos standing there fucking terrified with a piece of shit ICE agent standing behind him with a goddamn gun, and you don't see an issue with it, you're an unconscionable piece of rat shit, and I hope nothing but the fucking worst for you. Get fucked. To the ICE agents that are gleefully playing their part in this, ripping families apart, gassing protesters with fucking nerve agents, assaulting elderly folks and infants to the point that they stop fucking breathing, I got one thing to tell you. I'm not a big religious guy, but since I see so many of you fat pieces of shit rocking cross tattoos and wearing fucking cross necklaces, I gotta tell you, hell is hot and it has damn little shade, so you better drink some fucking ice water while you got the goddamn chance.